April 17, 2025, the dark shores of western Yemen. In the heart of the pitch-black night, the Houthi radar suddenly flickered to life. A thermal signature, swift, high altitude, and eerily silent. The operators smirked with confidence. Another drone! Just one of those American toys. Something they'd seen countless times in Yemen's skies. They prepped 2 Sayad missiles, locked on, and fired. But what they targeted that night wasn't some ordinary drone. It was the B-2 Spirit, the invisible sword of the U.S. Air Force, a stealth flying wing that's little more than a faint illusion to even the most advanced radars. This sky titan is only seen when it wants to be seen. And that night, it had no intention of being spotted. The missiles roared into the sky, but the B-2 vanished into the darkness long before they could even get close. No crash, no impact, just gone. In that moment, as the Houthis scrambled at their launch site in Al-Hudaydah, searching for any trace of their phantom kill, they were oblivious to the fact that the spirit of the skies was watching them. The B-2 continued its silent flight, streaming live reconnaissance data straight to the Diego Garcia base in the heart of the Indian Ocean. What this stealth behemoth captured that night wasn't just a report, it was a death map, a spark that ignited one of the most precise, strategic, and devastating airstrikes in recent U.S. military history. This wasn't a routine operation. No noisy drones, no warning shots from destroyers. This was the moment the Houthis made the gravest mistake of their lives, firing at the wrong ghost. And when you shoot at a B-2, you don't just waste a missile. You put yourself in the crosshairs of a merciless reckoning. What do you think made this night a turning point? The Houthis' overconfidence? The unmatched technology of the B-2? Or the data that flipped the equation of war in seconds? Houthi operators in the hills of Al-Hudaydah thought they had everything under control. Their radar picked up a faint thermal blip, and they grinned with certainty. Another MQ-9 Reaper. Just the usual American drone. They'd seen these birds in Yemen's skies plenty of times and were sure they could bag another. But what they didn't know was that this was no ordinary drone. What was up there was the B-2 Spirit, a stealth bomber gliding like a phantom in the high altitudes, watching them like a predator sizing up its prey. This sky giant, cloaked in radar-absorbing materials and designed to scatter electromagnetic waves, is practically invisible. Its radar cross-section? Smaller than a bird's. The B-2 isn't just built to hide, it's built to vanish into the enemy's imagination. For a fleeting moment, a short radar pulse caught a vague shadow. No one knows what it was, but it was enough for the Houthis to roll the dice. From a hidden site in Al-Hudaydah's hills, 2 Sayad-2 missiles roared into the night sky. The Houthis used a mobile air defense system called Third Corded for this attack, a mix of upgraded legacy radars and Iranian-made Sayad-2 missiles. This system, with its optimized Costa radars, is designed to track low-altitude, fast-moving targets and can detect up to 150 kilometers away. The Sayad-2 missiles, reverse-engineered from old US SM-1 technology, sound formidable on paper. Mach 4 speed, 27-kilometer altitude ceiling. But against a B-2? It was like throwing rocks at a ghost. Their radars were effectively blind, and the missiles were just shooting into the void. The B-2's pilot didn't even flinch. The aircraft's threat receivers gave a brief beep, a passing alert, a gentle maneuver, a pulse of electronic countermeasures, and that was it. No need to flee or dive. The B-2 did what it was born to do: melt into the shadows. The missiles lost their lock, wandered aimlessly in the sky, and vanished without a trace. No explosion, no impact, nothing. But the B-2's sensors, like a master detective, recorded everything. Launch vectors, missile heat signatures, flight paths, and most crucially, the exact coordinates of the launch site. Now, it was the B-2's turn to become the hunter. This wasn't just a failed shot. It was a fatal mistake that put the Houthis square on America's revenge map. When the B-2's data hit the Diego Garcia base, analysts were stunned in seconds. Launch coordinates, terrain maps, thermal signatures of hidden equipment, everything was laid bare before their eyes. This wasn't a simple threat. It was a mobile firing network the Houthis thought they could hide in the shadows. But the B-2, like a ruthless predator, had dragged their entire operation into the spotlight. This was where the game flipped. In typical scenarios, a B-2 gathers data, returns to base, and commanders spend hours planning. But that night, the rules had changed. This stealth titan wasn't just there to spy. It was armed to the teeth. Massive GBU-57 bunker busters and deadly JDAMs designed to obliterate underground fortifications. Command didn't hesitate for a moment. A shot at the B-2? That was a declaration of war. The order? Immediate retaliation. And when the B-2 strikes, there's no fanfare. No warning, no trace of smoke or light. Just deadly silence, laser precision, and a surprise that burns to the bone. High above, hidden behind clouds and the curve of the earth, the B-2 lurked like a phantom. A gentle turn south, and its lethal payload was now perfectly aligned with the Houthi site. At that very moment, Houthi ground forces were still chasing the illusion of downing an American bomber, searching for visual confirmation. They had no idea the B-2 had locked their coordinates with millimeter precision, ready to unleash hell. The first pair of JDAMs detached from the sky like silent tears. They fell noiselessly, guided by GPS, and slammed into a hidden equipment hub behind camouflaged bunkers with meter-perfect accuracy. The explosion? It was as if the earth itself roared. Secondary blasts lit up the hillside like a giant lantern. Where a firing site once stood, only a smoldering crater remained. But the B-2 wasn't done. Two more 5,000-pound penetrator bombs followed, targeting an underground bunker, likely a command post or ammo cache. When these giants hit, the ground quaked, and anything buried deep in the earth was erased from existence. From the moment the Houthis fired their missiles to the instant their site was reduced to ashes, just 15 minutes. 15 minutes from false bravado to utter annihilation. And the B-2? It was already fading into the horizon like a ghost. Invisible, untouchable. Mission complete. The B-2's presence in Yemen's skies wasn't for show. It was a strategic warning. This stealth titan is built for deep, devastating strikes, when ordinary bombings won't cut it. When a B-2 takes flight, a storm is coming. Even in 2025, with all the advancements in enemy radar systems, this aircraft remains a true phantom. No air defense network can track it. That night, the B-2 didn't just drop bombs, it redrew the battlefield. It marked supply depots like a painter on a canvas, mapped communication hubs, captured thermal images, and beamed it all live to Pentagon command centers. It delivered a 3D blueprint of the Houthis' core operations, all while remaining cloaked in the shadows. Hours later, Super Hornet fighters, armed with precision GBU-38 bombs and AGM-88 HARM anti-radar missiles, descended on Yemen's coast like lightning. This wasn't a drawn-out operation. It was a 6-minute tempest. The first targets, exactly where the B-2 had pointed. The missile battery that fired the two Sayad missiles was obliterated by laser-guided bombs from near-stratospheric heights, reduced to a pile of ash. Secondary explosions screamed that munitions had been hidden underground. 2 kilometers away, an underground communication node, dormant for weeks, was next. A GBU-31 penetrator bomb sliced through it like a knife, wiping it from existence. Simultaneously, fighters from the USS Truman struck Ras Issa. This wasn't just a port, it was a lifeline. Fuel, money, mobility. The Houthis thought America wouldn't dare hit it. Too civilian, too risky. They couldn't have been more wrong. At 1:18 a.m. local time, Super Hornets, shielded by heavy jamming from growlers, materialized like phantoms over the Red Sea. They unleashed a surgical barrage of J-dams onto fuel tanks and underground tunnels. In less than 30 seconds, chained explosions turned the northern terminal into an inferno. By the time the second wave arrived, Ras Issa looked like a scorched crater. The sea wasn't spared either. An Arleigh Burke destroyer opened its VLS cells, launching 2 Tomahawk cruise missiles toward southern Ras Issa. The target? A warehouse disguised as an oil tank, but military intelligence revealed it was a weapons transfer hub. 1 missile obliterated the building, the other collapsed the tunnel entrance. The entire operation? Less than 6 minutes. 17 targets erased from history. This display of power wasn't just an attack, it was a strategic lesson. The Houthis were caught off guard. Their radios went silent mid-transmission. Radar sights blinked out. Infrared imagery showed vehicles fleeing inland without headlights, some with doors still open. There was no coordinated response, no counterattack. Back at the Pentagon, reports came in. No collateral damage outside the target zone, no American casualties, all primary targets destroyed. This wasn't just the obliteration of a firing site. It was a reminder to everyone, from Iran to Moscow and Beijing. America doesn't need a second provocation. The message was clear, delivered in steel. For the Houthis, it was a bitter awakening. They didn't just shoot at a bomber. They opened a door to something they couldn't contain. By sunrise, the smoke over Ras Issa was visible from space. Satellite imagery revealed a scorched scar where a fuel terminal once stood. Now, there was only ash and silence. In Houthi territory, everything was unnervingly quiet. Radio traffic dropped to 0. Units still communicating were panicked and scattered. Some never reported back at all. Before April 17th, America operated in the Red Sea like a cautious sentinel. Drones patrolled the skies, destroyers monitored shipping lanes, threats were tracked, and occasionally met with limited strikes. But when Ras Issa trembled, everything turned upside down. This time, America didn't just fend off an attack, it rewrote the rules of the game. The arrival of the B-2, the stealth titan of the skies, wasn't just about destroying a target. It was a resounding message. A message that screamed through its deadly silence. We're no longer playing by your rules. The Houthis and their backers in Tehran and beyond had grown accustomed to maneuvering in the shadows. Drones launched from civilian areas, weapons hidden in infrastructure, command centers tucked beneath oil facilities. They thought America wouldn't dare touch sensitive or near-civilian targets, but a 6-minute mission turned that illusion to ashes. Ras Issa didn't just explode, it took on a new meaning. It was no longer just a port, it was a full-fledged military target. With this strike, America drew a line in the sand. Anything that fuels your war machine is in our crosshairs. For Washington, this wasn't just an operation, it was a global statement. It told friends, foes, and onlookers alike. Our stealth bombers aren't just for massive wars anymore. They're in the skies, watching you, And if you step out of line, they'll strike before you even know what hit you. How do you think this game changer redefines the world of modern warfare? Yemen's skies are quiet again, but this silence isn't peace. It's a tense pause brimming with anticipation. When the smoke rose from Ras Issa and signals went dark, something monumental happened. Not just on the ground or in tactics, but in the rules of the game. America declared loud and clear, nothing is the same anymore. Fire at a B-2 and there's nowhere to hide. Take cover behind infrastructure and it's no longer your shield. Touch our assets and we won't wait for retaliation. We'll strike swiftly and decisively. A Houthi missile that missed its mark didn't just fail, it flipped the entire equation. What seemed like a routine reconnaissance mission with a stealth bomber turned, in 6 minutes, into a dazzling display of modern warfare. Data-driven, lethally precise, and backed by a new doctrine that's no longer merely reactive. Now, every radar that lingers too long, every convoy that strays off course, every antenna that pops up in a suspicious spot carries a new risk. Not just being seen, but being erased before you even realize what hit you. This is the legacy of April 17th. Which moment do you think truly turned the tide? The Houthis' failed shot? America's resolute decision to strike Ras Issa? Or perhaps the sheer presence of the colossal B-2 in the heart of the sky? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this analysis, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you don't miss any thrilling updates. Until the next video, stay sharp, stay safe, and remember, when you fire at the phantom of the sky, you become the prey.